Chapter 32. Incoming. Exhausted from the morning's events and the weight of sleep deprivation, Robert entered the room just as Karnik finished receiving a transmission. The only words he caught sent an icy rush through him. Goldilocks has the bears tucked away. Frantic, Robert dashed to the nearest window that overlooked the upper parking area. He hoped desperately to catch sight of Sierra's familiar truck and trailer, but the spot where it had been parked was heartbreakingly vacant. Karnik placed the mic gently down next to the RTO, his expression darkening. He sensed the rising storm in Robert, the raw emotion that came from a protective, older sibling. As Robert, his fists balled tight with restrained fury, began to stride purposefully across the room towards him. Karnik braced himself for the impending confrontation. "Where did you send her, you bastard?" Robert's voice was a growl, his words barely escaping clenched teeth. Without warning, he unleashed a ferocious punch that found its mark on Karnik's left cheek. The room's atmosphere thickened with tension as those present watched, frozen in the sheer intensity of the moment. Karnik, while feeling the sting of the blow, slowly raised his hand, motioning everyone else to remain still. Meeting Robert's fierce gaze, he saw the raw concern and pain, and recognized the protective rage that would have consumed him as well if their positions had been swapped. "That is the only one you get," Karnik said calmly, rubbing the soreness away. "Where is she?" asked Robert, barely able to control himself as all his muscles tightened and his fists got ready to inflict justice on the person who had placed his sister in danger. Not that she had been selling cookies the last few months, but at least he had been there to watch her back. "I understand, Robert, I do. She is safe. Carlos is with her." They were the least conspicuous, and that is what was needed for the pickup of White One. She just checked in and reported that they have them and are on the way back. Nothing to be alarmed about. Karnik relayed the information with ease in his voice. Karnik was relieved that Robert hadn't found out earlier. "Nothing to be alarmed about?" Robert asked. "You don't know my sister." He shook his head. "Ridge Runner, this is Red One. We are 2 minutes out. Over." "Can we put this on hold?" Karnik asked as if it was a question, but Robert understood it to be more, "They're coming in, and I could use you for overwatch." "We will be picking this up again later, and you had better hope nothing happens to her," Robert replied. He stopped in the doorway with his rifle strapped to his back for Karnik to see, as a silent reminder that Robert had the means to enforce this clear threat. Robert sprinted for higher ground, temporarily setting aside his worries about Sierra. His boots pounded the terrain as he reached a vantage point overlooking the front gates. Droplets of morning dew glistened on the grass, dampening his attire as he dropped into position. Without hesitation, he flipped open his scope covers, drawing the rifle snug against his shoulder. His breathing steadied, and his hand slid beneath the stock, stabilizing the weapon. Eyes sharp, he scanned the road below, anticipating the convoy's approach. Moments later, 2 battered buses emerged from the horizon, limping towards the gates. Straw soldiers packed within. Robert's Noreen 30-06 scope magnified the scene, revealing the scars of a morning filled with intense conflict. The buses looked like Swiss cheese with countless bullet holes riddling their frames, shattered glass sparkling in the morning sun, and paint that seemed almost completely stripped away. An even closer observation displayed the bus's back tires hanging on by a thread, shards of rubber violently ripped off, flinging into the air. The bus's double tires on each side were the only things keeping them moving. With every turn of the wheel, they inched closer to the critical point near the railroad tracks. Robert's muscles tightened as he spied 4 SUVs beyond the buses, each adorned with the stark SCN emblazoned across the hood. Anger simmered within him at the sight, yet the knowledge that they were not fellow countrymen somehow assuaged his hesitation to target them. As the final bus neared the tracks, Robert's body relaxed, focus narrowed to the driver in his crosshairs. In that pivotal moment, he took a steadying breath, exhaling slowly, steadily, his finger gradually applying pressure to the trigger until the rifle discharged with decisive power. The bullet traversed the open space with lethal precision, puncturing the windshield, reaching its human target, and starkly altering the once clear glass with a splatter of crimson. Robert remained unfaltering, his eyes coldly moving to the next vehicle, mechanically repeating the process, his mind numbed to everything but the critical task at hand. Robert's eyes tracked the madness unfolding below. The leading car's tires bit into the metal tracks, setting off a chain reaction. The violent jolt unseated its passenger, who, for a brief heart-stopping moment, dangled precariously before being catapulted away. The vehicle, having lost its stability, began a deadly somersault, painting the road with a grim hue as it landed on its one-time passenger. The smell of burning rubber filled the air as tires skidded and metal twisted. The deafening roars of the 240 Bravos continued to dominate, their rhythm almost hypnotic. Metal shards and glass sprayed in every direction, glinting menacingly under the morning sun. One SUV, attempting a last-ditch evasive maneuver, ended up plowing into another, setting off a catastrophic chain collision. Engines sputtered, and smoke billowed as vehicle after vehicle became nothing more than twisted wrecks in the wake of the onslaught. In mere moments, what was once a formidable procession now lay in ruins, smouldering reminders of the ferocity of the ambush. From his vantage point, Robert could feel the weight of the carnage below, knowing he had played a crucial part in altering the fate of the convoy. The once ominous convoy lay devastated in a mere blink, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. Robert, from his elevated position, took a moment to grasp the swift and ruthless end of the pursuers. Thanks to the magnification of his scope, it seemed to Robert that he had watched everything unfold from the front row seat. Robert felt little for those who didn't belong here and only sought to do harm to his country. With the first of the groups now safe inside the gates, Robert's thoughts returned to Sierra.